we're going to work on Titibasana in this sequence, and I have to say it's one of my favorite poses. I get asked that a lot, and I can never think of one, but this is actually one of my favorite arm balances. And I will say in advance, it's a huge hamstring stretch in order to do it, and it didn't come easily to me, and I have pretty open hamstrings. It took a lot of work and time. So please go really slowly. Your hamstrings are something that, when injured, take a very long time to heal, and the purpose of this is not to injure yourself ever, so be very cautious with that, but do have fun. So Janice will modify, John will not. Lie down on your back to begin, and just begin yourself in Shavasana with your legs outstretched pretty wide, not like huge starfish wide, but pretty wide so that it's easy for you to roll your inner thighs up to the ceiling. Make the external rotation in your hips, that's what that is, inner thighs to the ceiling, really easily accessible. Then just let yourself be still and start the process of paying attention to your breath and paying attention to your body. So just 2 points of concentration. And there's no right or wrong answer with how your body feels or how cluttered or quiet your mind is. You're just noticing what is in those 2 areas. And take care of your body if it feels tired. Pay attention to how it feels without pushing through things mindlessly. And if your mind feels cluttered, that's fine. Just know that and know that you'll have to put extra effort into concentrating on your breath and your alignment. So start again with what you're doing in your breathing and draw a big inhale that starts from the base of your belly all the way up until it reaches the top of your chest. Pull it all the way in. And then when you get to the top, open your mouth, exhale your entire breath out, cycle it out until your lower belly sinks down. And then do that again. Take a big inhale, fill up. And then open your mouth, exhale out. And then one more time, pay attention to all the aspects of the inhale, how it feels, what it sounds like, the effort it takes. And then do the same as you open your mouth and exhale. And then back to in and out through your nose. Add the effort by constricting the base of your throat. That makes your breath audible, the sound of ujjayi. And it's just another layer that you can pay attention to. And then the control that it gives you allows you to move slowly, which over time is really important. It helps you build strength. So going slowly, although not fun, not our natural way to do things, really beneficial. All right, resty time is over for my salmon-colored duo. I feel so left out today. Hug your knees in. I signed up for all black day, not salmon day. And then reach down and grab the edges of your feet for happy baby. And when you take happy baby today, rather than just letting your knees go out to the width that you usually do, have them just a tiny bit wider than your rib cage so that your chest is able to stay wide. They're kind of out to the edges of your shoulders. And then start by slackening up on your grip on your feet enough to get the back of your pelvis flat on the floor, just for a few breaths. Flex your ankles a lot so that your heels are driving up. And then again, steady breath. And go slowly and softly here at the beginning. There's no race to do this, and there's no race to get to 100% of your capacity. So just a little bit at a time. And then rather than flexing your ankles at this point, you make Barbie feet. So point your ankle joint, and then pull your toes back and flex them as if you're standing on stilettos that were on the ceiling. And then take your hands to the backs of your thighs and just hold them down. You can take them to the outer edge. And then once you have that, knees still just a little bit wider than your shoulders, let the lower part of your back round just a little bit. Draw your belly in and contract it to let that happen. Chest is still wide, pushing your upper back up towards the ceiling so that the heads of your shoulders move down, broadening your collarbones. And then whatever's appropriate for you here at the beginning. If this is already stretching, stay. If it's not, start to straighten your legs a little bit at a time. And as they straighten, you're working the fronts of your thighs, your quad muscles, to straighten them. That's slackening the back of your thighs. I want you to engage your hamstrings and calves just a little tiny bit as you engage the quads, the fronts of your thighs, so that as you stretch, you're also strengthening. And then hug your knees into your chest. And take a rock up to seated. Stretch your legs out in front of you. And have your heels on the edges of your mat. And then once your heels, edges of your mat, John. Voila. Bend your knees enough to get your belly through your inner thighs, your rib cage slightly through your inner thighs. And it might be a big bend for some of you, it might not for others. Then grab hold of the edges of your feet once you're there. Janice, what are you all the way down for? Inhale, pull your chest forward, bend your knees more, you're the modifier. Exhale, fold. Okay. And then as you fold, right now, you can let your back round for a few breaths. Keep your sit bones fairly anchored to the ground. Think about rolling your inner thighs down towards the floor, the opposite of what you were doing in Shavasana, until your toes face straight up and your heels are behind your toes. So especially for John right now, his back is pretty round. Janice's is pretty flat. I want you to get rid of the round in your upper back. Pull your chest forward and widen your collarbones. Lift your head up so you're looking forward of the front edge of your mat a few inches. And then make your Barbie feet again. Spread through your toes. Point your ankle joint. Hug your outer thighs in, hug your inner thighs together. As you do that, broaden the collarbones a little more and curl your tailbone down towards the mat. Good. Inhale, sit yourself all the way up. Bend your knees, put your feet on the floor mat distance, and come up and over into a hanging forward fold at the front of your mat. And then once you're there, grab your elbows again. So you're just mimicking the same shape over and over and over again here at the beginning. So bend your knees again until your rib cage starts to move somewhat through your inner thighs. And some of you will have to bend your knees a lot. That's okay. Just let them bend. Don't worry about it. Balance the weight evenly in your feet, and then stamp your feet down like you were trying to make big footprints in soft sand at the beach. Now, right now, intentionally engage the backs of your legs. Feel your hamstrings and your calves working to keep the bend happening in your knees. Hug your inner thighs together. Squeeze your outer hips together. The same action you were doing when you were seated. Think about pulling your upper back into your chest so that your collarbones broaden. And now with the work in the back of your legs, the anchor of your feet, if your hamstrings are ready for your knees to straighten a little bit more, maybe a millimeter or two, start to engage the quads so that your knees straighten a tiny bit further. If your rib cage leaves your inner thighs, go back to a little more of a bend. Come back to your breath. And then release your hands down to the mat and step yourself back into downward facing dog. Yeah, tuck that in. Why don't you? So spread your fingers nice and wide and anchor your hands down. Once the anchor of your hands is really, really even and grounded, roll your outer arms down towards the floor so that your shoulder blades move away from your spine and around the sides of your rib cage. And then hug your outer arms in. Right, and then once you have that, just for a moment as an experiment, put a bend in your knees, lift your heels up so your legs are out of the equation. Get your spine long. Push your upper back through towards your inner thighs like you've been working. Allow your tailbone to feel like it's reaching at the same angle up towards the ceiling as your arms are. And then from here, shift a little too much weight into your fingertips. Just feel what that feels like. It'll lift your forearms away from the floor. And then shift a little too much weight into the heel of your hand. It'll drop your chest towards the floor some. Right? Then come back to an evenness in your hands. And without changing the shape in your spine, begin to press your legs straighter. Send your thighs back by engaging your quads, and then draw your heels down. Think about stamping them down into the mat by flexing your ankles. Right? And then step your right foot just a couple of inches forward of your left. Bend your left knee, straighten your right leg all the way out, descend your heel right down behind your second toe. And then look at the center of your knee. Make sure it's in line with your toes as well. Hug your outer right hip in and squeeze your upper inner thighs together. And then step that foot back to down dog and step your left foot a couple of inches forward. Bend your right knee, straighten your left leg. And once you know that the leg is neutral in rotation, it's always center of the hip, center of your kneecap, heel, second toe, then hug, outer hip hugs in, inner thighs squeeze together. It's just two actions moving in the same direction. Good. And then step back into downward facing dog. Inhale, glide forward into plank pose. Bring your shoulders over your wrists, hold yourself there. Right, so flex your ankles, that same effort. When you really overdo that, your shoulders will shift back, you'll end up in the heel of your hand a little bit too much. Keep the work in your legs, but shift your shoulders beyond your wrists now. Pull your chest wide through your arms, pull your belly in as you do that. Breathe in, and then exhale, bend your elbows 1 inch, or if you can hold the alignment, all the way to 90 degrees chaturanga. But inhale, push straight up into plank. And exhale from your hips, pull yourself back into down dog. Okay, now go slowly on your own breath. Inhale, long glide forward into plank, shoulders a couple inches beyond. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, straight line back up. Exhale, pull yourself back. Okay, and then do that 2 more times on your own. And if you don't need it or you want to drop your knees, you're free to do that as well. If you're not going to do it, just stay in downward facing dog, finding even activation in what your legs are doing in your arms. Good. Janice, your butt's up in the air a little. There we go. And then hold down dog once you get back there. And step your right foot forward to your hands. Drop your left knee down to the mat. Shift your weight back and straighten your right leg out. Put your hands right underneath your shoulders and flex your right ankle. Okay? And then once you're here, push the back part of your right leg up to the ceiling. And if you push that evenly, it'll make you want to bend your knee. Hold that work, but then engage your right quad. Press the thigh bone down at the same time. So you're holding your knee joint nice and steady. And then pull your sternum forward towards the front of your mat. And if you can fold more deeply from your right hip crease without rounding the upper portion of your spine, go for it. I wish that I could always wear drop crotch pants like John's, but they say that the gentlemen don't like them on the ladies. It was on the top 10 list of things not to wear. It makes me sad. It's my tidbit for the day. And now inhale, come back up, widen your collarbones. Move your right foot off to the right some, just a few inches. Keep your toes facing the ceiling, and it'll mean a little more effort into rolling your inner thigh down. Put both hands on the inside of your right leg. Have the back of your right arm pretty close to the inner thigh. Pull your chest forward again. Curl your tailbone underneath of you a little, and then exhale, fold any amount more without rounding your upper back, but allowing that little round in your lower back. And then inhale, come on back up. And then exhale, step yourself back into plank and chaturanga. Inhale, right back up to plank. And exhale, push back into downward facing dog. And then step your left foot forward, lower your right knee, shift back, straighten your left leg out, and flex your ankle. Right? Hands right under your shoulders. Take that big breath in. Exhale, fold. As you're folding over your left leg, think about back of the leg pushing up to the ceiling. If you really overdo that, it'll bend your knee. So keep your knees straight, the back of your leg engaged, and press the front of your left thigh bone down at the same time. Okay, make sure your toes face straight up, that you're hinging at your left hip crease here. And then inhale, come up onto your hands. Move your left foot off to the left, just a few inches, so it's just where your outer left shoulder is. Hands under your shoulders again. Roll your inner left thigh down. Take that big breath in, and then exhale. Once you start to fold, not allowing the upper back to round, keeping the top of your chest wide, but curling your tailbone under towards your chin a little bit so your lower back has a slight round in it. Good. And then inhale, come on back up. Exhale, step back into plank, chaturanga. And then this time, flip your toes. Inhale into upward facing dog. You can always take cobra as well. And exhale, push the floor down. Shift from your hips into downward facing dog. Good. Walk your hands back until they meet your feet. And then again, grab your elbows, hang yourself forward. So you did it with wider legs at the front of your mat to start with. Here, bend your knees again until your belly now touches your thighs, all the way from below your navel. And then work the backs of your legs to keep that effort in your hamstrings and your calves. Add the work of your quads if your hamstrings are ready for your legs to be somewhat straighter without losing your belly connection to your thighs. And then release your hands down. Inhale, pull your chest forward. Come up high onto your fingertips if you need. Exhale, hands to your hips. And inhale, push up to standing. And walk all the way up to the front of your mat. Bring your feet all the way together. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart. So it's a little redundant, but it'll be meaningful today. So look down at your feet. Look at where your second and third toe are, and then the center of your heel, which is right between the two pointy parts of your ankle. Put your heels right behind your second toe, and it might mean separating them a little bit. Okay? And it should mean your knees are now in the same line as your toes. Hold that. Activate your thighs, fronts and backs, and then hug your legs together. Get a little taller through just the top inch of your chest. Then release your arms down. And on an inhale with straight arms, reach them out to the side, up alongside your ears. Lift the top inch of your chest maybe a little more. Exhale, fold forward and down. Keep that length in your spine as you fold and your legs very active. Inhale, pull your chest forward. Get a full amount of back bend in your upper spine. Widen your collarbones. And then exhale, step into plank. Plant your palms, one leg and then the other into plank pose. Take one big breath in, pull your belly in. Exhale, keep plank, elbows just bend, chaturanga. Oh, Janice was so scared for a second. Flip your toes, inhale, upward facing dog. She was like, what? Exhale, downward facing dog. Shift up and back. I wasn't trying to trick you, don't worry. Right, so working your arms. And for a long time, down dog's going to feel like, oh, my arms are doing 80% of the work. My legs, I keep working them, but my arms are still more effort-filled than my legs. Over time, it'll get less. Put 100% of effort into your legs. Look forward, bend your knees, step or hop your feet up between your hands. Land with those feet you set up in Titibasana. And then inhale, chest wide and through your upper arms. Exhale, fold from your hips. Keep your whole spine long. Inhale, come all the way up. Keep your arms straight. Reach up, lifting just the very top of your chest. And then exhale, hands together or alongside of you. Again, inhale, reach up. Now this time on your breath. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. Inhale, chest wide. Find your mini upper back bend. Exhale, step. Or if you're going to hop, hop very lightly, bending your elbows in the air, just like Janice did. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, push up and over, downward facing dog. And so John and Janice are really, really, really good at going slowly. John, are you a teacher too? Janice is a teacher. John will be one day. And they go really slowly, and it's built a tremendous amount of strength. And the sun salutes, they can be done really quickly and mindlessly and all of that, but they are really helpful and beautiful, and they should be hard work forever. It doesn't mean so hard that they're awful. It means hard that you're putting some effort into them. You're learning from them. Look forward, bend your knees, step or hop. It'll mean the arm balances and all of that start to come more easily when you do this. Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, fold back down. Inhale, come all the way up, reach up. And exhale, join your hands together. Right, one more time, Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, reach up, follow your breath until your arms rise. Exhale, follow your breath all the way out as you fold. Go for maximum length of the inhale to widen your chest. Maximum length of the exhale to come into chaturanga. Big inhale, linger into up dog until your breath's over, and then long exhale to fold all the way back into downward facing. And so learning to go slowly, learning that patience, it'll help you with all these fancy things you want to do. They don't come easily either, and it was a process of me learning that being patient was worth it. I want things really quickly too, just like we all do. All right, from here, inhale, shift yourself forward into plank pose. Bring your shoulders over your wrists. And once you're there, pause, take a breath in, exhale, pick your right leg up and bring your right knee to your right tricep. If it doesn't land all the way up there, shorten your stance a little, move your left foot a little closer. Right, flex your right ankle fully, back leg nice and straight, belly in, chest wide. Lift your right knee an inch or two off of your right arm. Feel your outer hip working to do that. Keep that work. Take your attention, though, to your inner right thigh. Use your inner right thigh to bring the knee back to the arm and then to squeeze it into the outer arm. Now bring your knee to your nose. Look forward, step your right foot all the way through. Spin your back heel flat at an angle. Line up heel to arch. Take your block, put it to the inside edge of your right foot. Okay, put your hand on it. Turn your chest open and reach your top arm up. Mimic what you just did in plank, knee to arm. Back leg straight like plank, the whole foot anchored down. Right outer hip, you work that enough to get your hip under, so your hip, knee, heel, second toe are in one line. Then use your inner right thigh muscle to hug it into your right arm. But don't allow it to come to your right arm. Bring your right arm to it. Shoulders down away from your ears, upper chest wide, and then that pulling up of the lower belly. It'll almost feel like a drop of rounding in your lower back. A little more, come on. Ah, yes. Good. And then look down. Inhale, bring yourself up into warrior two. And pause there. So sometimes you'll need to widen your stance in warrior two in order to have the full alignment from side angle first. Okay. Press the back leg straight. That's all the same things in your lower body. Your shoulder's just not there now to your inner right knee. Pretend it was. Use your outer right hip and your inner right thigh muscles together, keeping your alignment points. Belly up, but then top inch of your chest away from that. Turn your chest square to the side of your mat without letting that compromise your lower body. Start to bend towards 90 degrees in the front knee, pushing the center of your right heel down, allowing your back leg to reach away from you so it's the anchor point. A little more. Frontal hip points up, up, up. So pick this up, pull your belly in. Now take your chest way forward. There we go. Better. One more breath. And then exhale your hands to the mat, step back, and slowly on your breath go through a vinyasa, chaturanga, up dog, down dog. And if you want to skip that at any point because they're becoming sloppy or tired or any of those things, then that's not a bad thing. It just happens. It happens to me all the time. Leave them out. Second side, inhale, glide forward into plank, and then exhale, left knee, left tricep. Okay, once it lands, back leg straight, flex your left ankle, chest square to the front of your mat, belly in, and then pick your left leg just an inch or two up off of your elbow. You'll feel your outer hip working. Hold that work, but then use your inner thigh, squeeze the knee back into your arm, and then a little further without it letting your chest collapse. And then draw your knee to your nose, push the floor down, step your foot through. If it doesn't get there gracefully today, it will one day. Spin your back heel down, line up heel to arch, block to the inside. Make sure your foundation from your hips through your feet is set up, and then turn open and reach your top arm up. And all these standing poses, they're here to teach you all the stuff you need to know about these arm balances. They're where you'll work over time to accomplish the thing that you want. It's not just a repetitious desire for me to watch Janice and John do side angle. Back leg straight, hip moving under by using your glute muscle, inner thigh working to squeeze the knee and the arm together, but moving your shoulder back into your knee as you do that, chest wide. Find a lightness in the pose. Start from the lowest part of your belly you can find. Draw it in and up. Make sure the top inch of your chest stays lifted to your chin. Good. And then look down, better on this side. And inhale, bring yourself up to warrior two. Widen your feet apart if you need to. Right. Push your back foot down, the whole foot. Find an evenness in it. Straight knee. If you need to look at your front hip and knee to make sure they're tracking, go ahead. That's fine. There's no rules against looking at what's going on. Bend into it. Frontal hip points lifting. It's just that idea of drawing the low part of your belly up. Then chest up and wide. Good. Get your collarbones square to the side of your mat. Yeah. I knew that went there. It's like there's something going on here. Try to hold your gaze steady. So bring your whole rib cage forward. There you go. Yeah, you'd like to lean back. And then exhale, cartwheel your hands down to the mat and take yourself through a vinyasa or a long, slow exhale back into down dog. All right, take a big, long breath through your nose. And exhale, let it out through your mouth. Look forward at your hands. Lightly step or hop your feet up there. Inhale, chest wide. Exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, reach your arms up alongside your ears. Okay, once you're here, shift into your heels. Hug your outer hips together, engage your glutes like you were doing. It'll make your knees want to widen. Leave your knees together, squeeze them together simultaneously. Low belly in and up now. Then top of your chest up, arms straight. Last breath. If you can lift your chest enough to look up easily, do. Work your hands as close together as they'll go with your elbows straight. Exhale, stand up. Bring your hands to your heart, mountain pose. Surya Namaskar B, inhale, bend your knees, sit back, that same alignment just on one breath. Exhale, fold first, straighten your legs second, keeping your belly on your legs. Inhale, chest wide. Exhale, chaturanga. Skip it and step into down dog as well. Step your right foot through to your hands, spin your back heel flat, line up heel to heel, inhale all the way up, warrior one. Just a breath to flow into it. And then exhale, hands down to your mat, step back, and go slowly through a vinyasa. And Once you're back in down dog, step your left foot through. Spin your right heel down, heel to heel. Back knee straight, take that big breath all the way up. Get your top of your chest up. Exhale, hands to your mat. Back down into chaturanga. Reach your toes away from you. Lift your chest as you inhale. Exhale, fold from your hips into down dog. Steady breath. Then we're going to add a little something. We're going to do it first. So look forward, bend your knees, hop your feet between your hands, and then if you didn't land with your feet together, bring them together and squat down so that your tush lands on your heels. Let your heels lift up. Right? So once you're standing on your toes, separate your knees as wide as the edges of your shoulders. And then once you have that, bring your hands to the inside of your legs, round your back enough to get your knees to touch your outer upper shoulders. Right? Once you have that, squeeze your knees into your arms, your outer hips in, keep your chest wide. Okay? Bring your hands as close to your feet as you can with them shoulder distance apart, and then lift your tush up enough to shift your weight forward. Draw your elbows in, draw your belly in, use the backs of your legs to start to draw your heels up into crow pose. And once you're up, hands planting evenly, arms squeezing together, squeeze the knees into your arm, the big toes together. If that collapses your chest, a little width to the collarbones. Good. And then set your feet down between your hands. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, straight legs, chest wide. Exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, reach up into chair pose. And exhale, push up to standing, bring your hands together, mountain pose. Now we'll put that into the B at the beginning. Inhale, bend your knees, sit back. Exhale, fold forward, straighten your legs. Inhale, chest wide, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, squat down, Bakasana. So come in with that alignment. Instead of just letting yourself stack your knees on the backs of your arms, all of that, squeeze the knees into your outer arms, feet together. Belly in, little round in the low back, little round in the up back, but chest still a little broad. Okay? And then if you're going to step from here, or exhale, chaturanga and hop back, nice and slow. Inhale, up dog, and exhale, downward facing. From down dog, right foot between your hands, back heel at an angle. Push your back foot down to lift your chest up. And exhale, hands down to your mat. Go slowly through a vinyasa or into down dog, and then the second side of warrior one. Pay attention to each movement. Concentrate on it in your body. Feel how it is today. Don't worry about going quickly or how it was yesterday. Just what's happening now. And then once you're in this downward facing dog, walk your hands back to meet your feet again. Grab your big toes with your index finger and middle finger. Bend your knees any amount to get your entire rib cage and your belly touching your legs again. And then once you have that bend, relax your neck. Lift your shoulders up away from your ears. As you hang here, work the fronts of your legs a little more than the backs to begin to straighten your knees without letting your chest leave them. Hug your outer hips together, that top inch of your inner thighs together as well. And then inhale, pull your chest forward. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, stand yourself all the way up. Release your hands to your sides. Right, from here, you're going to step wide to face the side of your mat, the left side. Right, step your feet really wide apart. Right, and then you're going to, like crazy. Then from here, bring your hands to your hips. Okay, so make sure that same thing, heels in line with your second toe, kneecaps facing dead ahead. Hug your inner upper thighs together, your outer hips together. Lift your chest up. Take a breath in, and then exhale, fold yourself forward and put your hands underneath your shoulders. Oh yeah, nice chiropractic adjustment over there. Right, take that big inhale again to lengthen the top part of your chest forward. Make sure you're still working in your legs, that your heels and your hips are still in line. And then do that work. Outer hips hug in, inner upper thighs. Now, if you can hold the shape of your spine, then work in your legs and fold further, go for it. If you can't, stay there working in your legs. Okay? If you fold to a point where your elbows are bent, move your hands back so your wrists are underneath your elbows and your forearms are perpendicular to the floor. Push your hands down strongly. Lift your shoulders up. Widen your chest and your upper back. Hug your legs together as if they were next to your shoulders. It'll come in handy later. And then inhale, pull your chest forward and come up really high onto your fingertips. Move your hands underneath your shoulders. You're going to keep your spine in the angle it's in, straight ahead. Take a breath in. As you exhale, bend your right knee just a few inches or so until you feel your inner left thigh stretch some. For those of you who are really bendy, you won't feel a stretch, so work on stability here. Outer hips hugging, inner thighs activating, chest wide. And then inhale, straighten your right leg out. Exhale, bend your left knee some. Okay, so as you're working on stretching, you're also working on strengthening. So look for the work in your outer hips, the work in your upper back, the work in just the inner thighs. They are stretching, but there's a little engagement as well. And then inhale, come on back up, straighten both legs. Exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, stand up. Okay. Once you're standing, take your block, put it to the back of your right heel. Start it as tall as you want. No, start it tall. How about that? You can always make it lower. Right? From your hip, turn your right leg out until your heel, your second toe, your kneecap, all face dead ahead. Turn your back toe in. Okay, line up heel to arch. And then have a more generous stance today for triangle. Reach your arms out to the sides. Okay, so use your outer right hip muscle to draw the hip under. Use the back of the leg pressing forward so that your knee is protected, and then engage the front of the leg simultaneously. Belly in and up so your hip points rise. Chest square to the side of your mat. You're going to hold all of this, reach, hinge, and fold into triangle, putting your hand on the block without anything else changing. Oh, up, 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 up. Okay. And then once you're there, work from your legs so that your right hand isn't sinking into the mat. There's this lifted engagement in the fronts, backs, inner and outer thighs. Low belly supports you. Chest is wide. Good. Squaring. More. Yeah, turn your back toes in a little more. That's better. That'll give you access to this. Much better. Now, without leaning back, engage here. There we go. Good. And then look down at your right foot. Put a bend in your right knee, step the back foot in a little, and then shift your block forward and come up into half moon. Okay, put your hand right underneath your shoulder. Make sure your standing foot is still facing that same direction. Heel, second toe in line, knee in the same line. If it's not, engage your outer right hip more until it is. Okay. Use your inner thighs without letting that move your legs. Pull the front of your pelvis up off of your thigh bones, and then widen your chest from there. You love to back bend. Push into my hand, and then take your leg this way. There you go. Look down, put a bend in your right knee, take your block with you, step yourself back into triangle pose. Okay, land there, find the alignment. Oh, Pavlovian, I looked at her hips. Right? And then take your block with you, inhale, come all the way up. And then exhale, switch legs. So spin your left leg out from your hip, turn the block over to the other leg. Okay. Back foot pivots in a decent amount, so the heel, toe, knee are in one line too. Okay. And then once you have that, neither one of you like to do this. Then pick the front of your pelvis up, lift your chest up, square it to the side of your mat, and then send your pelvis to the front of your mat, reach your left arm to the back, and hinge into triangle. Yeah, try to do that on the way in. Right? And then chest and upper back nice and broad. Make sure you're pushing into the front of your left foot. It'll engage the back of your leg. That's really all you're trying to do there, is balance the weight evenly in the foot, get your calf and hamstring to work, get the quad to work at the same time so your knee is supported all the way around. And then there's just the spreading across the top part of your chest, the spreading across the top part of your upper back. Yeah, even just a little more. Yeah, and now contract here. More. There you go. And then look down, put a bend in your left knee. Left foot is glued to the mat. Baby step the back foot in some and step up into half moon. Stand down into your left foot. Lift up through the thigh muscles all the way around. Let your legs stay where they are. Heels lined up, right toes facing the side of the room, but then squeezing the inner upper inch of your legs together. Kick the front of your pelvis up towards your lower ribs until it feels like your tailbone reaches to your right heel. And then get that width and evenness in your chest and upper back. Good. And then look down, put a bend in your left knee. Take a slow step back into triangle. Take your block with you on the way. Nice. And then look down, leave your block down. Inhale, come on up to standing. Square your feet off. Step to the front of your mat and come into mountain pose. Okay. Right, and then from here, inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, Uttanasana, fold all the way forward. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, chest wide, look forward. Exhale, step or hop, take yourself through a vinyasa or step into downward facing dog. Okay, once you're here, take a nice, long, generous breath through your nose. Let it slowly come out through your mouth. Walk your hands all the way back to your feet. Right, heel toe your feet a whole bunch wider so that your pinky toes are pretty much touching the sides of your mat again. Heels right behind them. Right, if you know that taking your arms behind your back tends to be a little bit of a challenge, then you're going to use a strap on this. Okay, bend your knees until your rib cage moves through your legs, all the way through, until your right shoulder creeps all the way through. And then take your right arm through the center, reach your left arm behind your back. Turn your left palm to face the wall behind your head, and then either clasp your fingers or use a strap. Janice is going to use a strap. Right. And then once you're here, top inch of your chest, pull it to your chin, widen your collarbones. Draw your belly in, hug your legs together. Now turn your chest open to the left. You find that little bit of upper back twist like you just did in triangle pose. Balance the weight in your feet, and if your left leg will start to straighten out some, let it straighten out, hugging your outer upper thighs and inner legs together. If this is enough, if this is already like, wow, that's a lot, stay. Make sure it's like 80% of what your hamstrings can do. If your right leg will straighten out somewhat more without changing any other alignment, start to straighten it out more. If it won't straighten all the way, make note of that. It's going to mean something later on. Good. And you either stay here or look down, move your left foot into the midline of your mat until it's right underneath your hip. Put a bend in that knee and start to stand yourself all the way up. Once you've stood up, keep the bend in your right knee. Woo-hoo. Push your left foot down, straighten your left knee. Little bit of the frontal hip points up, then chest up and wide. Okay, if this is all going well, and you can start to straighten your right leg out without changing any other part of your alignment, do this. It's like doing triangle but bound up. It's a big pose. Go really slowly. It's spread through your right toes, making a Barbie foot out of your right foot, whether or not your knee is bent. Make a Barbie foot out of your right foot. There you go. And then slowly bend your right knee, fold forward, unbind yourself, widen your feet to the edges of your mat, and then grab your elbows. Okay, take a little pause. So getting your top leg straight, Bird of Paradise, I call it a made-up pose because it is. It's not an Ashtanga or anything like that. So it's one of those that if your point is to get the top leg straight, no matter what the rest of the alignment looks like, it's good, a really injurious pose. So get the rest of it functioning well first. Put that on the top later. So then second side, bend your knees a lot. Do it enough to get your chest through so that your leg is moving onto the back of your shoulder a little bit more. And then left arm through, right arm behind your back, and you're binding around your outer hip, not around the center of your legs. Okay, once you have that bind, it'll cause your chest to want to collapse. Pull your collarbones wide, turn your torso open. Make sure that you're working all the way around your legs and then up by your pelvis and hip joints, outer hips hug, but inner thighs as well. Okay, if your right leg will start to straighten it slowly. As you over-engage the quad to straighten your knee, make sure the back of your leg is pushing forward. If your left leg will go a little straighter here, take a few breaths for that. And your legs are different from side to side in terms of flexibility. So this leg might straighten out all the way. It might not. I like my left leg better. A lot better. In gymnastics, you only have to do one side of everything, except the splits in conditioning. If you can do Bird of Paradise, look down. Move your right foot into the center until it's underneath your right hip. Stand up, bending your left knee. Once you've stood up, push your right foot down, straighten your right leg. Think about getting the sides of your waist even by sending your left hip crease to your right heel. Chest wide and open. Then you can start to straighten the leg out. Get the inner thigh and the back of your shoulder to hug. Heel behind your toes and Barbie foot. Good. And then if you're coming out, bend your knee, fold, land, unbind, grab your elbows, hang forward. Good. Okay. All right, and then release your arms. Heel toe your feet to hip distance apart. Bend your knees again until your belly's on your legs. This time, wrap your arms around the backs of your calves. If you can double bind through the middle, go ahead. If you can't, grab your wrist like John is. Right, balanced evenly in your feet. And especially if you're bendy here, well, frankly, all the time. If you're bendy, work your legs, especially your inner and outer upper thighs. If you're not, if your hamstrings aren't right now, they will be one day, so it's important to keep engaging all the way around. It'll just be a little more emphasis on what your quads are doing than your hamstrings. And then release your arms. Inhale, pull your chest forward, look forward. Exhale, walk all the way out into downward facing dog. And then once you're in down dog, it's up to you. Sometimes it feels nice to take a vinyasa after that. Other times it's just hold down dog. It's up to you which one you prefer. Okay. And then drop your knees down and take a rest in child's pose after that. So we're going to do the arm balance. We're going to do it the traditional Ashtanga way, sort of. So for this, if it was hard to bind your wrist behind your back in the last thing, you're going to put a strap near the front of your mat so you can grab it. There's lots of steps to stop along the way here. Stop where it's hard, but not painful, not injurious. Work slowly through this. And then if it doesn't happen today, it's a hysterical pose, so you can just laugh the whole time. You'll see. All right. When you've taken your last breath, which is now, come back into down dog. Last breath for that. Don't stop breathing altogether. I don't know CPR well enough. I've only practiced on those plastic dummies. All right, now look forward, bend your knees, hop your feet around your hands. And once your feet land around your hands, the same thing we've been working. Put your heels behind your second toe and then bend your knees, this time until you get your rib cage all the way through your legs. Okay? When you can't get it through anymore, grab the backs of your ankles, wiggle your right foot in a little, pin the shoulder and the knee together. Wiggle your left foot in a little. Try to keep your heels right behind your second toe. Okay? If you get to a place where it's, my shoulders are really far through and you can start to bind, you take your arms away from your legs and reach behind your back. John's going to stay holding his ankles. Yes. Okay? Squeeze your legs together. Now this is the funny part. It's real. Right? Take a breath in. Take a breath out. On your next inhale, step your right foot forward. Exhale, step your left. Inhale, right foot. Exhale, left foot. Inhale, right foot. Exhale, left foot. Go backwards. Inhale, left foot. Or right foot, sorry. Exhale, left. Inhale, right. Exhale, left. Inhale, right. Exhale, left. Undo your arms if they're bound. Grab your elbows and hang yourself forward. Okay, so that's only part of the Titibasana thing. It's real. I didn't make it up. And actually link the whole thing together. It's one of the hardest parts of second series. And it takes a very long time to get there. And it takes a very long time once you're there to learn it. So be patient. Be kind to yourself. All right, now we'll do the arm balance. So same setup, heels behind your second toe. And as you come into this, your legs are going to want to do the opposite of that. They're going to want to externally rotate like you do in triangle. You keep them rolling in, keep them neutral. So bend your knees, get your shoulders all the way through. Now I call this the bug wiggle, you just have to do it. Titibasana means firefly, so you might as well treat yourself as a bug. Wiggle one shoulder under, bring the foot in. Get your feet as close together as you can with your shoulders under. If this is like, yeah, that's it, keep hold of your ankles and just work here, breathing steadily, working on engaging your legs. If you're going to go into the arm balance, plant your hands down behind your heels, shoulder distance apart. It'll just be your fingertips to start. Shift your weight back and drop your butt until your whole hand hits the floor. Once your whole hand hits the floor, squeeze your legs and arms together, belly in, work from your inner outer thighs. Now lift your chest up and drop your butt down until you shift into the heel of your hand like we did at the beginning. And then start to straighten your legs any amount. As you do, the inner thighs, roll them down so your heels move down, toes move up to the ceiling. Breathe. and then you can either do the somersault out backwards when you plop down by accident, or bend your knees and put your feet back on the floor, grab your elbows, and hang yourself forward. Okay, so it takes a really long time. If your legs didn't come anywhere near straight in Bird of Paradise at the back of the mat with one leg at a time, this is even harder. This is straightening two legs at the same time, essentially with your feet behind your head. So it would be like doing a forward fold with your entire torso through the ground. A seated forward fold, that is. So it's okay. We can take two, round two. It's one of those everybody wants a second shot at, right? So wiggle, round, let your back round to get yourself under. Once you're under, then you rewind the collarbone so you're not collapsed there. Okay, when you're like, yeah, that's it, then you commit. Pinch your legs and your shoulders together. Plant your hands. Make that setup important. Chaturanga arms. Shift back, tush drops, chest lifts. As you start to straighten the legs, your inner thighs will want to roll to the ceiling. Roll them to the floor. Good, John. A little more inner thighs down, down, down. Good. All right, and then when there's the somersault, otherwise come on out, right? Hang in that forward fold again. Right? That's really good. So teacher, soon-to-be teacher, all the time model, practice yoga forever, still really hard for them. It's one of those poses that just is really hard, and then anatomically for some people it doesn't happen all the way. Don't worry about it. The effort was what mattered. Paying attention, trying, doing something different. That's what this is really about. Now, take your hands down to the mat, step back into down dog, decide if you'd like a vinyasa. If you don't, stay there. If you do, take it. Sometimes it feels nice to do a little mild back bend. And then once you've held down dog for a couple of breaths, look forward, hop all the way through, lie down on your back. Okay, so super mild back bend today because that is a huge forward fold. You want to go to a big, huge back bend after that. It'll feel kind of yucky. Right, so just start here, knees bent, feet hip distance, and your block nearby. Okay. Take a few breaths just to let your back flatten on the mat. It's less of a forward fold already. Steady breath. And then be proud of what you did. Even if it didn't happen, even if it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, who cares? You tried, put the effort in, you worked really hard, and you tried something new. Maybe you tried something old in a different way. All of that is very admirable work. And then press your feet down. You're going to grab your block, and instead of taking it the super high way, take it half the height you normally do for a few breaths. Lifting up into supported bridge, you're going to place it right underneath your sacrum, which will feel more like your pelvis, not your spine. So it'll be where your hips are. Okay, a few breaths there. And once you feel like, okay, my spine this is frankly just a flat shape right now, ready for somewhat of a back bend. If you'd like, you can turn the block up a little bit higher. Look for that same effort though. Legs are parallel, inner thighs, they'll move down until your knees are stacked right over top of your ankles, not bowed out to the sides. Long breaths, in and out. And then pay attention to how you feel now. Don't worry about what happened before, not what happens later. What's going on now? How do I feel? Give yourself a moment. Are you happy with how you feel? Is it good? Are you content? Are you quieter? No right or wrong answers, just noticing. And then lift your hips up and off the block and move it on out of the way. Hug your knees into your chest for a couple of breaths, just nice and softly. And then put your feet on the floor. Shift your hips a little bit to the right. Hug your knees back into your chest and drop them off to the left. Put your right arm out into just a simple reclined twist and close your eyes again. So much less effort here. You can do this pose with tons of effort. You can also just let go somewhat more. Here, let go. Plenty of work already. Pair it with some relaxation in your body. That doesn't mean that you fidget around. It means that you're still, which is hard. And then it's, what do I do with my mind? What do I do? Do I let it go back to what it loves to do, what it does and says that it's supposed to do, which is think about everything that's not going on right now, or do you give it a task? Give it a task, follow your inhale and exhale. It's just as hard as the arm balance you just did. It's a skill just like that. It's just a point of concentration, so keep trying with that. Balance that with the softness of the pose. Everything is a little bit of work and a little bit of ease. And then bring your knees back up, feet on the floor, shift your hips to the left, hug your knees back in, and then drop them off to the right. And inhale, bring your knees back up and hug them in. And you'll take a rock up to seated and extend your legs out in front of you again. Okay, sit up tall in Dandasana. So we worked all day on legs a little bit wider than your hips, hamstring work entirely so that your legs may be ready for that. If it's been enough already, widen your legs again. And hands next to your hips, sit up really tall. And then work in your legs, heels pushing down, toes pulling back, thighs pushing down. Chest up away from that. Inhale, reach your arms up. Just get that little bit of extra front body length. And then exhale, start to fold. Belly might hit first. If that's the only thing that'll hit, stay there and put your hands down. If you can get your lower ribs to hit your legs, do that. Keep going with that process until you round. And if you round, put your hands down. Keep the top part of your chest pulling wide. You can work from your upper back without your neck being involved. So keep the work that's happening across your shoulder blades to widen the top of your chest, anchoring your sit bones down all the while, but then relax your neck. Close your eyes if you like. Hold still. There's some work in your legs, some work in your spine, some softness in your face, softness in your breath, and then work in your mind, holding it steady on the alignment that you're doing, the engagement that you need, and the breath that's moving in and out. And inhale, sit yourself up. Come all the way up, exhale, lie down on your back. And like we started, just hug your knees in and then set up into happy baby one last time. And this time, however you'd like. Few breaths with your knees bent. You can keep hold of your feet and straighten your legs out some as well. And then when you're done with this, hug your knees in until you feel even and ready to lie down into Shavasana where you started. Stretch yourself out and come into that. So find a comfortable position for your body, one that you can hold still in. There'll be things that'll make you want to move. If they're painful things or they're urgent things that you definitely can't hold still for, then move. But if they're things that are just bothersome, sweat rolling off of you, an itch, try to hold still. See if even in that discomfort you can concentrate on your breath. And give your breath a little more interest. So like we started, take 3 cycles of it. Inhale through your nose. Explore what your breath feels like and sounds like. Open your mouth, do that as you exhale. And take 2 more rounds of that. Just look for some part of your breath that's like, oh, that's kind of interesting today. When you're finished with the last one, make an attempt not to control your breath anymore. And it's okay if you do. Just try not to. And as it softens, whatever was just interesting in the engaged breath is still there in a quieter volume. Find that thing, concentrate on it. It's hard to concentrate. It's hard to hold our focus. It's getting progressively more difficult as we go forward in this world. But it's a skill that's really necessary. So you can pay attention to where you do too much, where you don't do enough, your habits, all of that, in the present moment, and make good decisions. So just like you worked really hard to do an arm balance, now work really hard on watching that part of your breath. When you stop doing it, don't beat yourself up, just start again. Make it really simple. You're just trying to learn something. Otherwise, find ease, take rest, Shavasana. If your mind is somewhere else other than your breath, hold still and just guide it right back there. And then concentrate on it as you deepen it. Deepen it enough that your body feels ready to move again, to be awake again. And when that happens, add as much movement slowly as you'd like, and eventually make your way up to a comfortable seat at the front of your mat. It can be cross legs, it can be kneeling. And sit up tall, just for a moment, hands on your thighs, eyes closed, a little bit of stillness. So be proud of yourself that you get here, that you try to do this thing, that you try to learn new things, that you try to undo the patterns that come easily or that are harmful and try to do new ones that are better, more beneficial for you. And then join your hands together in front of your heart. Take that big breath in, lift up, widen the top of your chest, and then exhale, bow your chin down. And lift your